Hello guys, running into a problem with the conversion to close ratio, and it all has to do with the gear, the second pinion gear. Let me show you right here. I'm going to have to get this off of, it's going to have to be machined back just a little bit. It just can't be there because it's going to rub right here. And once you get it in there square, it'll rub all the way around. So we can't have that. You probably could put a shim there, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just like the original gear. Let's see, here's the one I just took out. I'm just going to take and turn it down similar to that to get the teeth off of the case. That's all you've got to do, looks like. So let's stand by and I'll get to that. This gear is extremely hard. I can't do anything with a file on it, and so it's obviously I'm not going to be able to cut it with even a carbide tool in the lathe. So what I've got to do is, and I've already started just to make sure I could do it, is I've got to grind it on the lathe. It's a very slow process, and that's the only way I'm going to be able to do it. But I'm just going to take it down to about where the original one was, and that should give us the clearance that we need. Get the teeth away from that case. So let's get with it. This process is extremely noisy, so I'm just going to show you a little bit of what we're doing, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're done with it. And I've got to be able to get in here and spray this with some soluble oil too, so the camera is just going to kind of be in my way. Okay, let's fire it up here and get ready to go. Okay, I've got this down where I think it's going to work. You can see here that I ground down to here and then put a bevel back on the teeth here, and that should keep it off of the case when that's installed. It's basically the same thing as the other gear, except I didn't take as much off and it's not as far down. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I will only be able to tell when I put the two cases together. But you see, before it was rubbing right here. Of course, if it was straight on, it may not have done that, but it was just too suspicious for me, so that's why we cut it down, and that'll keep that off of the case. And then we compare the two. The one on your left there is the original. That's the AT-1 wide ratio, and then the one on the right is the new close ratio one. So all we can do just to get it off the case. That's, I think, all that we need to do. Anyway, when I get ready to put the case together, I'm gonna mock it up before I do anything, so I'll be able to tell if all this is free spinning, and I'll probably put some dicom or something on here just to make sure that as I turn it, it's not rubbing anything. I know that it's going to rub the case here. What the other one was doing was actually fitting into this bevel, and I don't think we need to do that. I think rubbing on this may be better, and if we need to, we could put like a 2000 shim here to, but I don't know. We'll just have to see when I put it together and see what things look like. All right, I put some dicom on the surface that the shaft is going to run on, and I put the two cases together. It's the gap is completely cleaned up or closed up, and I'm just looking. I'm checking the play here, and we're at about 13 or 14. That's. I'm going to pull this back apart. I've spin it a little bit, and I'm going to see where it touches, and then I'm going to put the wide ratio shaft in and see how it compares. Okay, pulled the cases back apart, and the only thing that I see is just a slight amount of contact right here around the edge, and that shouldn't be a problem. That should be good, and with that kind of clearance, I think these two just kind of float in there, and with them mashed together, like say on this one here, there's absolutely no thrust washers or anything. So it's, I think, meant to just be kind of floating in there with some in clearance. So now I'm going to put the wide ratio one in, and we'll see what it compares to. Okay, here's the wide ratio one, the one I haven't cut on. And we'll just stick that in. There we go. Well, may be more. Let's put our dial indicator on it and see. Oh, that's a lot more. It's completely down. $50,000s, maybe a little more. You can't see that. Yeah, about 50,000s or a little bit more on that one. Okay, that's interesting. Everything wants to hang up. All right. So this taper on this one actually goes into that hole a little bit. I'm going to do some more comparing, and I'll I'll find out. I'm going to put both the counter shaft and the pinion shaft in, and make sure everything will go through the gears and everything. So it's interesting though. We've got more in play with the original, and I think it's because it's actually going into the hole just above the bearing. See this hole right here where the bearing is recessed in. See, this is the oil hole right here where the oil comes into the bearing. And we certainly don't want to block that off. But here's the new one, the close ratio with the gear I just cut down. I'm going to have to do some looking in the book, see if they give me a clearance. I don't ever remember seeing anything about end play there, but we'll take a peek and see what it says, if anything, and put the wide ratio in, unmolested gear set, and see how everything interacts, and then we'll put the close ratio in. Just want to make sure everything is right before we button it up, because I do not want to open it up again. Okay guys, I've got the new close ratio set up in here with all the shifting drum and everything. I still need to put a clip on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it all together, make sure it shifts, and check the end play of both shafts just to see what it is, and then I'm going to go put the AT-1, the wide ratio one, back in and check the end play on it. So let me get this kind of buttoned up here on the back. Let's see, I can do that after I get this on. That way I don't have to worry about it falling apart on me. There she's together. And all I'm going to do here is put the retainer on the shift drum. And that thing really kind of wants to walk off there, so I'm going to go ahead and just put it together like I was going to put it together for good, because without this cover, it just keeps wanting to kind of walk off of there, and we really want to make sure that everything shifts right. So we'll get it together, and that way everything's as it should be. All right, and I don't have the detent in there yet. And when you put these things together, I'm gonna look here. Yep, it's just right where it ought to be. You always want them to put everything together in neutral. So when you put the drum in, I'll show you on the wide ratio when I put it back in. You just want to make sure everything is in neutral when you slide it together, and everything should work properly then. And to check your neutral is to see if that detent on the drum is in this hole when you put it together, and it is. Okay. And we need our little piece here, follower. And we have a little spring. Goes up here. And our shift pawl and shaft. Just like that. And to make sure that stays put, I am going to put the snap ring on this side just to make sure everything's good. I've got a, oh, there it is. Lost my pliers. Yeah, that's in. Okay. Now let me get you over here. Okay. Let me just put my shifter on here. And let's give it a, oh, let me get that detent in there. And we'll be able to rock and roll. And I'm going to put it in loosely, and I'm not going to run the neutral thing down because I want to be able to move it here. Okay, so one down with a little clutch action here. Okay, there's one down, and okay, you can see here the pinion is moving. I mean, this is the wheel gear here. It's the counter shaft where the sprocket is on the other side, and I can feel it on the back side. It's solid. It's engaged. Okay, now we'll little action here. Go halfway. There we go. See that? I can hold it on the other side. So you can just hold it here. That's so you're in neutral. Okay, so another up. Let me run this thing down. I should have done that. It's under spring pressure, and it doesn't want to go. There, okay. Now we'll give it one up. Oh, I'm sorry, one down. No, one up is right. Well, something's not perfect. Let me investigate. Okay, I found out why things were not really wanting to shift properly. It's still a little bit tight, but I think it's because of the new gears. When I got these cases, you have to remember these were the new cases that I got. I saw that this nut down here, right here, was this was all loose, and I've still got it, the lock washer peeled back, just in case I need to do some further adjustment. But I didn't know why that was loose or why it was not tight there. So I think I found out why. So what you've got to do, if you're not shifting properly, you've got to adjust this cam down here in order for this to work properly. And let me just take this piece here off real quick, and I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. When I get ready to put this back together, I'll Loctite that screw. Okay, this adjustment that I'm going to tell you about, you need to make sure you're in either second, third, or fourth to make the adjustment. See there, we're in neutral right now. See this, I turn the clutch shaft and the other one's not turning, or I can hold it. So if you go to, that's first, and then back in between, that's your neutral, and that's second. Okay, what you want to do on this adjustment is you want to get the distance between that point and the pin and this point and the pin the same, as close as you can. And you do that by adjusting this eccentric. So you just loosen the nut and turn this one way or the other until you're approximately centered here. So that being said, let me put this back on. And what I wanted to do was just verify I had all my gears. Like I say, some of them are a little bit, they just don't want to go in smoothly. Usually it seems like more fourth and fifth than anything. But those are all new gears. Okay, that's our first. That should be neutral. Yep, neutral. And that's second, third, fourth. It's one that, there, fifth. Okay, so everything's there. Well, there. I'm satisfied that with it running, there we go, all the way down, and back to neutral. Okay, but I guess really what I wanted to show you here is when you put this in, I wanted to check the end play on these two shafts. And I'm going to compare them to the AT-1 unmolested gear set, just to make sure whether there's some little differences in in the shaft length or something like that. Let's see, I think you can see that. Maybe a little better right there. Okay, of course, that's pretty much down, zeroed out, and it's counter shaft, so I'll push on the other side here. So I'm getting about 35 thousandths. Okay. And this one also down. Oops. And magnets not as sticky as I'd like. Well, I'm going to lose it here if I guess maybe I didn't have it tightened. Alright, now let's try it. To 0. I'm getting about 16 on the pinion shaft. And that's after I cut the gear on the back. So this one is the new close ratio. So now I'm going to take it apart and we'll see what the AT-1 gear set looks like and measures in that one. Okay, I'm getting all this loose here so I can separate the case again. Take this pin out, that sure makes it easier to deal with. Let's see, I think I saw one of the followers pop off and fall in there. It's probably sitting in here somewhere. Okay, so you just grab all this stuff as an assembly. Little plastic hammer persuasion. Oh, that's why I was having difficulty. I'm sure somebody was out there saying, "Hey dummy, pull your D10 out." That's why. Okay. So there's my little shifter gizmo that fell out. Put it there, and there's the detent ball. Another one of them. Guess I better look, see if I still got one. Yep, still got one installed. Okay, got everything back together here, and I'm going to place that in here. Of course, it's never easy. Remember, you got to be in neutral. Everything falls apart. I think I got it. Just going to pull this one shift fork up. There we go. And get the pin in it. This one's not quite in either. Yep. The drum went in before this shifter fork came out, so let me get that straightened out. Okay, I think I got it now. So that should be, yep, that's neutral. Put this pin in. That one's in all the way. And that is neutral. Okay. Can't see half the stuff with my glasses on, and the other half I can't see with them off, so it's always something. Alright, so we've got everything in there. So let's see if we can get this back on. Out of there, fly. Okay. I get that little paw in here first. And the spring attached. Let's get some, fasten this down so I don't lose it when I turn over. Okay. Get the shifter paw in here. And you've got a washer and a E-clip on that side. You know, I've tried different times to, you know, you just, well, can I get by leaving something out? I'm just testing things. No, you can't. It always jumps out or something, so I think it's just better to make sure everything is in. The shift barrel here, you've got a little washer. Some of them may not have a washer. This one had too much play, in my opinion, so I cut a washer down. The book shows one, but it doesn't show how thick it is. And this one didn't have one, but there was a lot of slop in that drum, so I made one of about 30 thousandths. It had about 47 thousandths free play, and like I say, I made one at 40 and then one at 30, and the 30 seems to work the best for me. Okay, so we're fastened up back there. Get my shifter back on. And I need to get the detent back in. Put a little grease on it. Hold it. Now if I can get a hold of it. There we go. My greasy fingers were able to snag it. All right. I think that's it. Should be first. Back, that's neutral. Second. Third. Fourth. Fifth. It shifts fourth and fifth a little better. I'm gonna look at those teeth and see if I can just take a little grinder and help them out a little bit. I'm sure that it's just okay. Now, what I really want to know is the end play. That one's 50 thousandths on the pinion. yeah, that's the pinion. Pinion at 50 thousandths. And the counter shaft, I'm going to say 30 thousandths. Okay, so that's the counter shaft on both of them are 30 to 35, and the pinion I measured 16 on the close ratio and 50 on the wide ratio. So maybe I need to remove a little bit more this way of this collar. That's what I'm thinking, because the original one actually fits down into where the pinion goes in on the left side of the shaft or the case. It actually goes down kind of like into this here area. See, this one's actually been running into there too. Let's see, this is an unmolested one here. This is one of the original, the old ones. So it would actually go into that a little bit. So on the shaft that I modified, or the gear that I modified, I'm thinking I may need to make this smaller so that it will go into there to give us a little bit more in play. I'm thinking maybe that's what we need in order to shift better, because this one here really shifts much better, I think. The other one, it shifts okay until I get to fourth gear. Fourth and fifth are a little bit difficult sometimes. First, of course, you know, when this is turning, you're going to have a lot better chance of everything falling in. See, that's third. There's fourth. And there's fifth. Not quite. There, that's fifth. So, I'm going to look at that and I'll let you know what I do. Okay, I think we've got this figured out here. See, I've got all my gears. We're in neutral there now. There's first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Now let's fifth. Fourth, third, second, first, neutral. Okay, and what we came up with on our in play was pretty close to the unmolested 125. I went 33, and the 125 wide ratio was 30 on the counter shaft. This one's 33, 34. And the pinion 42, and the wide ratio was 50. So we're right where it ought to be. Everything seems to be working okay. I think it's a little sluggish on the shift a little bit, but I think that'll all work out when it's running, and they are, for the most part, new gears too, so it'll take a little bit of time to break those in. But anyhow, that gets our close ratio up to date and in working order. So okay, so what we've done here in order to get our clearance to the proper amount, or closer anyway, is I went back and put the shaft back on the lathe with the grinder, and I actually took another 15 to 18 thousandths, something like that, off of it. So that's going to give me what I need. Let that float a little bit more in the case. Let's see, I think we ended up with, we had about 14 thousandths after I cut it down the first time, and now we're at 42 thousandths. And the one for the AT-1 was at 50. And these measurements are all on the pinion. So I think that's where a lot of the tight shifting was coming from. So once you get that play that you need in there, and I honestly think that the wheel shaft or the counter shaft that you have the sprocket onto and the pinion shaft, which the clutch goes on, those actually float in there a little bit. So they're not real tight, but they have to do that in order to, I guess, the shift forks and the drum keep them where they need to be. So anyhow, that's what we had to do. We had to grind off a little bit more, and everything is operating as it should. It's pretty smooth, and I'm just going to go in before I put it back, put it together for good. I'm just going to go in there with a Dremel, and on the gear that I just cut down, just go in there and bevel those teeth just a little bit with a little stone, just so everything will move as it should. So anyway, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you in the next video.